have no idea how I was introduced, but I assume it was all nice. It's a pleasure to be here. I thank you, Abilio, for allowing me to help you celebrate your birthday. What I want to do is provide a different level, some sense, of a variable. And I want to talk about something that I think is, well, those are all important, may even be more important, which is the way we think about things. And in doing this, what I will probably do is make reference to how each of those things you're supposed to do is better done once you're mindful. My argument is, and over 70 years of research says, that virtually all of us are mindless almost all the time. As I've said, we think we know, but we don't, right? And when we start, I think, one of the takeaways from all that I'm going to say is that we should only have one mindset. And that mindset should be an appreciation of uncertainty. And when we recognize that everything is always changing, everything looks different from different perspectives, no matter what we're doing, giving a talk, listening to a talk, playing golf, eating a sandwich, no matter what we're doing it mindfully or mindlessly. And what you're going to see is the consequence of doing it in one way or the other is enormous. Okay, so what do I mean by mindlessness? Mindlessness is an inactive state of mind where you're relying on distinctions that you drew in the past. You're more or less acting like an automaton, a robot, where the past overdetermines what you're doing in the present. You're trapped in a single perspective. You're insensitive to context and perspective. Your rule and routine governed, whether those rules or routines make any sense any longer. And this typically happens by default. Being mindful is so easy it almost defies belief. All you need to know is to actively notice. Now, the reason I told you that uncertainty is so important is because when you're uncertain, you pay attention. So when we're being mindful, we're noticing new things. That reveals to us that we didn't know whatever we're noticing as well as we thought we did. So now this thing that's old and familiar becomes new, and our attention naturally goes to it. This puts us in the present. You have a lot of people who say, be in the moment. And that's great, except it's an empty suggestion. Because again, when we're not in the moment, we're not there to know we're not there. So no one is choosing not to be in the moment. Right? This is the way to be in the moment. If you start off and you don't know, then you pay attention. And in that noticing of new things, the neurons are firing, you're feeling alive. And the data show that it's not only figuratively enlivening, it's literally enlivening. You become sensitive to context and perspective, realizing that things that are true in one context may be false in another, so you have to pay attention. Right? Everything becomes less absolute. You can have rules and routines. Things don't have to be chaotic, but those rules and routines should guide what you're doing, not overly determine, as they do now, what you're doing. And the experience of all of this is engagement. And what you need to do, what we all need to do, is not make a personal attribution for not knowing. That's what we do now. I don't know, you act like you do know, then I'll pretend. What we need to do is make a universal attribution for uncertainty. I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows. Because everything is always changing, everything looks different from different perspectives. So not knowing still allows you to be confident, but not knowing. And that's the position that we want to be in. Once we're not certain, we tune in. Stress is mindless. Stress is a result of believing that something will occur and that when it occurs, it will be bad. We need to question both of those. We can't predict what's going to occur. So the next thing you're stressed about, ask yourself, what are 3, 5 reasons it might not happen? Now, it turns out that evaluations are in our heads, not in the things outside of us, which means that things are neither good nor bad. So if you said to yourself, if this thing happened, how would this be a blessing? So now what happens is this thing may not happen that I first thought was going to happen, and if it does happen, it won't be nearly as bad as I thought it might be. Stress is not a function of events. Stress is a function of the views you take of events. You open it up and take a more mindful view, you can virtually eliminate the stress. What we need to do is free ourselves from these sorts of mindsets that limit most of what we do, think, and are able to accomplish in our lives. And when we recognize the difference between indeterminate and uncontrollable, much of the world changes for us. Nothing, there is no science, certainly not psychology, not biology, not medical science, not physics, no science can prove that something cannot be. All science can show us is the way we've tried it doesn't work under these circumstances. So nothing is uncontrollable. Things are simply indeterminate. Basically, once we accept that things are changing, that the idea of stability is an illusion, that the power lies in accepting the inherent uncertainty in everything, we become aware of all sorts of opportunities to which we'd otherwise be blind. The magic lies in being aware of the ways we're mindless. We want to examine the hidden decisions that keep us sealed in unlived lives, and to challenge the idea that the limits we assume are real have to exist for us at all. With only subtle shifts in our thinking, our expectations, we can begin to change the ingrained behaviors that sap health, optimism, and vitality from our lives. Increased health and overall well-being are a consequence of these subtle changes. So what I'm saying is that if we increase our mindfulness, we increase our effectiveness, our health, and vitality. Is there another question?
No, we don't have time.
Oh, wait a second.